What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Now, I do apologize for the lack of video yesterday. I was traveling in the air for over 12 and a half hours. That's right. As you guys know, I am in Dubai. Don't freak out. I'm not moving here or anything like that. I'm actually just out here on business, but I'm going to be here for a while, so it's a little bit crazy with the time zone, getting the videos out, so make sure that you guys get subscribed. There's a chance some videos may come out a little earlier, some videos may come out a little bit sooner, but you really don't care about that. What you guys care about is what's going on right now. And I didn't really have a full opportunity to comment on what happened with that fake ETF pump. I pretty much just said the news out loud. But really, if you have a look at what happened, you could see that we had this insane wick that came all the way up to around $30,540. This would have put us back into the well over neutral, into the bullish zone. And you can see right now, zooming in, we have kind of fallen back down. So what does this mean? Is this actually going to be negative now? Is Gary Gensler and friends going to have a reason to now come out and say, see, I told you it was manipulated? Or are we fine and Bitcoin is doing exactly what it needs to do? Well, there's three different things I want to talk about today. Try to make this video quick for you guys. The first thing is, Larry Fink coming out saying that, no. I mean, yeah, maybe it was the pump, but really what people were doing was they were flying to a asset of safety, of quality, or however he worded it, right?
We are hearing from clients around the world about the need for crypto. I mean, when you think about, I think some of this rally is way beyond the rumor. I think the rally today is about a flight to quality with all the issues around. And I think there's more people running into a flight to quality, whether that is in treasuries, gold, or crypto, depending on how you think about it. And I believe crypto will play that type of role as a flight to quality.
Is that really true? Because a lot of people are like, why are all these guys now all of a sudden coming out talking really good about Bitcoin? And the people who like to oppose what these guys say, they assume there's some kind of a master plan. Well, I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. I also want to discuss how we're actually seeing stuff that we've never seen happen before. We have all these new amendments to the applications, and Gary actingly surprisingly different now. Is he being backed into a corner? I want to discuss all of that. And of course, if you guys are following me over on X Twitter, I posted something that I did not speak about really in length on my YouTube video. And that's the fact that we are probably entering one of the most crucial weeks for Bitcoin. This is not like clickbait. This is nothing like that. And I'm going to show you why by the end of this week, we could actually be setting up for either a massive explosion of a move or potentially a major rejection. And yes, there are multiple reasons why. Now, I will give you my opinion. I'll let you know what I'm seeing in the charts and also what we're seeing in the news, but I will let you decide by the end of the video. Make sure you do stick around, guys. Lots of quality content. And let's start first and foremost with the sort of the big situation right now that's going on. And, talking about this ETF, right? Just to kind of point this out, I know that I express my own views, but I wanted to explain what Alessandro Ottaviani had to say about it, Alex Otta BTC. Now, I think this is really the big key takeaway, okay? Is that the Bitcoin market cap went up by more than 50 billion in a minute. Very likely, the money flowing into Bitcoin was less than 500 million, which puts it at a ratio of 100 to 1. A former BlackRock director said that we can expect about 150 to 200 billion flowing into Bitcoin in 3 years after the Bitcoin ETFs are approved. If you keep the same ratio with 200 billion, we would have a market cap of 21 trillion. This would put Bitcoin at $1 million per coin. Of course, there will be people selling, but this is already directionally clear how much could the effect of this Bitcoin ETF being approved have. And I know a lot of people still do not understand market cap, but it's the same thing. The best way I can explain it to you is when you look at these very small micro caps, these very small meme coin altcoins, right? You can get them to 5 million, 10 million, 100 million. You don't actually need $100 million worth of capital to get it to that market cap, which in turn pumps the price, right? Because the way that it really works is based on the order books, right? And we know that right now the order books are thin. So if you're trying to come in with all this money, but you only have so many, sort of asks available, so many sell orders available, then spot buyers are going to be forced to have to push that price up, right? You don't actually need the full amount. Very simple equation, very simple mathematical equation is you just take the circulating supply and you multiply it by the last price. That's actually as simple as it is. People try to overcomplicate it. So you could see how fast this could escalate with not necessarily needing as much money as a lot of people think, right? And this kind of brings us back to this Cathie Wood interview that I had showed to you 2 or 3 days ago. I forget at this point. But, is Bitcoin actually the flight to quality like Larry Fink has actually pointed out? Well, Cathie Wood sort of had an opinion on that, and she had a very good example in which to justify that.
If you look at what happened during the regional bank crisis this year, we learned a very important lesson. We had regional banks' stocks plummeting, some of them going bankrupt, and Bitcoin rose from 19,000 to 30,000. What did that tell us? It tells us that because of the decentralization and the transparency in the network, that counterparty risk is not an issue for Bitcoin. And so there was a flight to safety into Bitcoin. Think about that. As bank stocks were plummeting, that spoke very loudly to me. And I think the other reason people have been reticent is they heard about FTX. And if they think about FTX, though, FTX proved the point that you really want to be involved with a Bitcoin network and not something like an FTX. Why? Bitcoin is transparent and decentralized. FTX was completely centralized, completely opaque, and a fraud. Sam Bankman-Fried did not like Bitcoin. Right. I understand why. He thought he was a master of the universe and could control everything. Well, he couldn't control Bitcoin. And that's its beauty. That's its beauty.
Also, let's not forget that just a week ago, BlackRock actually tokenized some assets on JP Morgan's new tokenized fund thing or whatever they're doing. But obviously, these guys are messing around. They're playing around with this, right? They're jumping in head first to this, right? And then, of course, getting back to the Cathie Wood interview, when asked about the ETF approval, again, she wouldn't be surprised if multiple people or multiple ETFs got approved at once. And again, obviously, we're seeing that a lot of these SEC commissioners are starting to be like, hey, Gary, what the heck is going on here? And a lot of people think that it's Gary himself for whatever reasons. I mean, I'm sure there's some conspiracies. We know he met with Sam Bankman-Fried how many times. He wouldn't even answer Coinbase, right? There's definitely something going on. I think we have an idea he works for the bankers realistically, but also this was kind of her point.
So now with the ETF, what is going on? I think, we know the research people at the SEC, and they know what they're talking about. They are really good. We've met the head of FinHub now, who reports directly to Chairman Gensler. And for me, the disconnect is they know so much, and they are so good that I believe this was much more Gary Gensler standing in the way. I don't know for sure because they could never say something like that. I just know from how we have discussed Bitcoin with them that they really understand it and they understand its merits. Most important. So this is Gary Gensler. Why he allowed, and I will say he because I think he's the gating factor here, why he allowed a Bitcoin futures ETF, which involves counterparty risk, and not a Bitcoin ETF, which does not involve counterparty risk. In fact, it is backed, ours would be backed by Bitcoin 1-for-1 in cold storage at Coinbase. That's why Grayscale has won its case. It is that argument. And so I think Gary Gensler's personal Vietnam is coming is coming around to haunt him. I do think the SEC is moving now. He has, in effect, said, hey, I'm not the only decision maker. There are 5 commissioners here. That means some of the research that we believe is percolating up to those commissioners might be getting through to them and might be the grounds now for the approval of a Bitcoin ETF. And we don't think that the SEC will approve just one. They will probably approve a group of them. And that means it will become a marketing battle.
And of course, Eric Belchunas, the senior analyst over at Bloomberg when it comes to ETFs, points out that Fidelity has filed an updated version of its spot Bitcoin ETF. So these are 3 issuers down, 6 issuers to go. And then, of course, James Seyffart, who we had spoke about on multiple occasions, referring to the fact that the SEC Commission will not be appealing the court decision on Grayscale, which I'm actually going to get back to Grayscale in just a minute because something very interesting is going on with them as well. He says, done deal. I guess if this is accurate, right? No NBank application. No, I don't think they will appeal the Supreme Court either. Dialogue between Grayscale and SEC should begin next week, hoping for more info on next step sometime next week or week after that. So again, just to clarify, do I think we need a Bitcoin ETF? We don't necessarily need a Bitcoin ETF, right? I believe that over time, the world is going to wake up, inflation's going to run rampant, hyperinflation, all of the political things that are going on are eventually going to just make people run to something that they actually have control over, right? And I do believe ultimately over time, we would get to some of these prices that everybody's talking about. But if you want that sort of price action kind of faster, right, you're unfortunately going to need some of that old school dinosaur money that's like afraid to touch things like Coinbase, who is being sued right now by the SEC, right? So, that's just something to think about. And he also points that there's more proof that the potential spot ETF issuers are in communication with the SEC regarding changes and amendments. He says that these are positive signs, specifying custodial arrangements in detail, mechanics around hard forks, valuation pricing sources, and adherence to GAAP, risk disclosures around regulatory uncertainty. And if I expand this, we have mining is very energy intensive, which is very contradictory to the things that have been coming out recently. But again, they weren't even having these conversations even just a few weeks ago. I definitely haven't been having them over the course of the last 2 years. They're finding themselves backed into a corner now. They literally were told you can't reject it on these terms. So they can't reject it on the same thing again. So either they come up with a whole brand new argument, or eventually they're just going to be forced into the corner to actually approve these. Right now, of course, there are some downside risks like Crypto Potato was pointing out. We could have Bitcoin price capitulation due to the geopolitical risks. Obviously, it's terrible what's going on right now. Obviously, I can't comment on this because I'm not smart enough. The only thing I am smart enough to understand is that I just can't believe that this is happening, and again, my heart goes out to these people because it's not like the individuals themselves. It's not like the citizens are demanding this, right? It's the politicians, it's the governments that are doing all this, right? I say we just put them all in a room, Royal Rumble style, and just let the politicians duke it out, right? I mean, really, at the end of the day, wouldn't that make more sense? But I digress. This is not my topic to comment on. But again, would it be good for the price of Bitcoin? I don't know. I won't say it would or wouldn't. I do think, though, that the more, governments start to clamp down, they start to control money, CBDCs come out, and all these things of that nature, then yeah, I do think that Bitcoin will become a lot more appealing globally to, lots of people across the world of all different, places. So, and then of course, there's the FTX trial, crypto regulatory ambiguity, which, should this really be any surprise? People know what Sam has been up to. But again, this is a headline that even when I was on the flight over here, I actually saw, I'm not on a crypto channel, I'm just on an airplane. I saw SBF trial, it's going across the news ticker. So a lot of people are seeing this and they're seeing that negative connotation again associated with crypto. Also the fact that now we had that sort of crazy wick, is that going to be something that they can come out and Gary can go, oh, it's manipulation, right? So guys, I get it. There are a few things that could still, of course, be against us. But, talking about some of the positivity, some of the excitement, some of the people that might be trying to front run this right now, if you look at the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust discount, it's now at a -13. And I know what you're saying. Oh, it's still -13. Yes, but we're having the value get the closest that it's ever traded since December of 2021. Don't forget, it was down below -40%, right? So this is showing us that there are some positive, at least there are people that are thinking that they should be getting a little bit positive about it, right? So let me talk a little bit about these charts, and I want to show you something that is very important for Bitcoin. We know that Bitcoin has never ever had the 100 moving over the 200 death cross, and that's a possibility, and that could be coming up. It may be a fake out, it may not, right? But let's also have a look at what else the charts are showing us. So right here, you could see that it takes a very, very long time to get these Bollinger Bands, especially on the monthly, down to this tightness. Right here, you're talking about March 16th, and what happened? Bollinger Bands tightened, and Bitcoin sprung off, right? They started to tighten again. When did we get the next most tight? It literally took us from May of 2016, fast forward all the way to October of 2020, to get these bands, to get to this tightness again. And once we broke out, what did we have? A beautiful break to the upside. Well, currently, you could see that the bands are starting to tighten again. Now, are they at their absolute tightest? I don't know. These bands move very slowly on the monthly when they're tightening. But again, we are seeing that tightening. And, obviously, historically, we don't have a lot of this to go off of because we haven't had the bands get this tight that often. But both times in the past, we did have a massive break. I mean, yeah, we can't even go back any farther because they didn't. Well, this is Kraken. Maybe we could go back farther. I don't actually have a chart pulled up. But again, if you go back in history, you'll see that it lines up. And again, looking down at these hash ribbon indicators, we know that it's only failed 2 times in history, one time for COVID, and the second time is arguable because it failed, but it actually continued all the way up to the all-time high before pulling back, right? So was that really a failure? We put in an all-time high, right? And, like Seth pointed out, and I've showed you this on the channel before, we have this Gaussian channel, and, it's only really, it's been green 4 times if you include now 3 times. So it's been 3 times green, 3 times red, and every single time that we flipped back into this green, we've gone on a very long bull run, right? Another interesting thing just to point out that Ollie Charts mentioned, and I'll get into the personal TA, but I want to share these other insights. I think they're valuable, that Bitcoin is now trading above its warm supply realized price, which is around 28,150. Of course, anything can change by the end of the week, but as of right now, it is. And you can see that when we tend to break above this level, when we move out of the red into the green, which by the way, we are starting to put that in right now, and you can see that we are starting to trade back above it. That usually signals a good run. I mean, for example, you can see right here, just pointing out, and of course this isn't long term, but you could see that once we broke above and it went green, and then we broke above this itself, you could see that we actually had a pretty nice run. Yeah, we had some dips and stuff like that, but we had some of the highest prices for Bitcoin that we had seen in months. Now, right now, on the super low 4-hour time frame, you can see that Bitcoin has been looking like it's putting in some kind of a, pennant. Now, this is actually a flag which is going upwards, right? Now, I've heard, or at least from, what a lot of, I guess, analysts would tell you, is that actually when the flag is coming down, like if it was coming down like this, that's actually usually more bullish statistically than when it's going up like this, only because that's kind of the same as a rising and falling wedge. But nevertheless, guys, you could see it is forming a bit of this consolidation pattern, but it is on the lower time frame. So unless you're like a high frequency trader, this probably isn't very applicable to you. But what I do like to look at are these longer term trends. These are trends that don't just have a couple days, a couple hours. These are trends that have months, if not years worth of data to show us. And, the fact that right now, we are still technically holding above this EMA ribbon is showing us that, historically, even just when we broke out here, yeah, we had a retrace, but, we stayed above this ribbon, as you could see right here, for about, and this is a little dip into it, but really before we fell down, we stayed up for about 154 days, right? So we broke out and we stayed above this area for 154 days. So really, what I think you could be looking at potentially is even just some kind of sideways chop or something like that, right? We have this upwards parallel channel as well. Of course, you can kind of play with these. You can move them wherever you want. If you want to, these are just kind of guidelines. They're not like do or die. This is what Bitcoin has to do. But what Bitcoin probably wants to do minimally, minus this, is, if I just take this out, what we really want to attempt to do is stay above this 200 daily, which you can see is virtually flat right now. And that's around basically $28,000 even. Now, we do have money flow and anchors and trigger waves forming right here on the market cipher. We do also have them forming on the downside, but keep in mind, I always say that the longer term, the higher time frames, they always have precedent over the shorter. And this wave formation has been forming ever since this green dot back here on July 2nd, whereas this red has only been forming since April of this year. So this is the longer term move. What this is telling me is that short term, we may potentially see some type of a possible correction, maybe, but I don't see it lasting, and I see the ultimate trend continuing to the upside. Another thing that's also coinciding, really insane with everything right now, is that Mitch Hodl points out a significant percent of Bitcoin's realized cap is coming from coins that haven't moved in 2 years or longer. This trend historically precedes bull markets. Supply liquidity is the charcoal, logs, and the kindling. Demand is the match. The halving is lighter fluid. I like that. I like that little analogy, right? And again, I've shown you, I don't have the charts pulled up, but I've shown you multiple times that we are seeing more stable coins on exchanges and we're seeing less Bitcoin on exchanges. So more stable coins ready to suck up the cushion, less Bitcoin to sell. You see where I'm kind of going here, guys, with this? So, the most important thing for Bitcoin for this week, which right now, as you guys can see, we are having a true battle between the bulls and the bears. We have this major downwards parallel trend, which has, you gotta pretty much admit, it's perfectly held. It's perfectly held the bottoms, right? And it's perfectly held the tops, right? So the thing that's scary is, coming all the way back down to this bottom right here. That would put Bitcoin, I don't even want to tell you guys where that would put Bitcoin. That would put Bitcoin at around $10,000. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I just don't see that happening because that would be the most incredible deviation away from all of these moving averages, which, generally when we're above it, we're bullish, below it, bearish. And right now we are sandwiched in the middle like a peanut butter, banana, jelly sandwich with all these different moving averages. And as you can see, we have this potential death cross that could be forming. And just kind of zooming in here, guys. I'm being honest. Look at this wick. Look at where we're holding. We're literally we're above the 50. We're above the 200 EMA, which has acted as support. So that suggests that we could have a pullback and most likely get supported at around 25.7. But again, breaking and holding above this, putting in a full-on bump and run, and closing above this blue, which is the 100 weekly moving average, would probably be what we need to do, which is why, that would put us above every single major moving average, including the 21 exponential, I believe. Do I have the 21 here? Do I have the 21? I don't have the 21. I can add the 21 though if you guys want. Or not. There we go. Let me just change. Well, I could see right now, but we'll just make it neon green just to make it easy. Yeah, so actually, we're holding above the 21. So yeah, guys, it doesn't get any better than this. But what you don't want to do is have a rejection through this, because if we have that rejection, I will be the first one to tell you that will not be good for Bitcoin. But, coming down here, having a retest, bouncing around, even, continuing this sandwich all the way out to, we could keep chopping around here until December, but I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. What you would want to look on in the short term is a breakout and a retest, right? Sort of that bump and run. And then that would be pretty much the point where I would say bears have absolutely no chance anymore. I would say that is pretty much over for the bears. As of right now, it still is a little bit of that 50-50. But again, long term, I still don't see any issues, because I'm not going to go back this far. But, going back to the major trends, I'm not going to go over this again. We have this trend from 2017. We have this trend from the COVID crash. And we have this trend from the bottom, or what I believe to be, or it is so far has been, the bottom of this whole FTX contagion debacle. And, you can see that we haven't even attempted to touch these a second time. So, when you are looking at trading and you are looking at this, you tend to at least touch one of these levels. Now, if it was to come down here, people would say, some kind of a, head and shoulders, or possibly forming a head and shoulder break. That's possible. But again, you wouldn't want to lose this trend right here, right? So that's sort of the area where I would say, yes, it could get a little hairy, but that would be sort of the end of the support. So where would that be based on today's prices? At today's prices, that would be around 21,500. So I know that number sounds scary considering where we are right now. But according to this long-term trend, falling down to around 20,500, believe it or not, although I'm not sure how good it would be if it did it instantly, right? But technically, it really wouldn't be ruining the overall structure of Bitcoin, right? So again, guys, getting back to, Larry Fink over here, more people are running into a flight of quality like crypto. And of course, he's saying crypto to remain neutral. You obviously know he's clearly referring to the Bitcoin ETF. But, ultimately, yeah, I mean, we had that fake out. But again, this candle thus far is still a higher weekly candle. So previous week 27.9, this week 28. So even if we fell below that and still closed above the candle, remember that we do potentially have, believe it or not, out into mid-November before we have that sort of do or die moment. So ultimately, guys, that's it for me today. Thank you for coming to the channel. Hope you enjoy this update from Dubai. Like I said, I'm going to be here it could be here for 2 weeks. It depends on how long, what I got to do out here, how long it takes. But, I will eventually be back in the States and all that other stuff. We're not going to lie. I'm not like moving here. But yeah, so that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Hopefully you guys are enjoying these videos. Don't forget to turn on the bell notification so you guys can get all those updates just in case. I mean, it's really weird, actually. I'm not going to lie. Waking up over here, and it's like when you wake up here, people in the US still haven't even, like, they're getting ready to go to bed. So then, like, I'm up for the whole morning and there's no news coming out. There's nothing to do. So I'm just staring at these charts. I'm staring at the news. It's really, really weird over here. But as far as, the US news is concerned, because of the time that a lot of this news tends to come out. But yeah, anyway, I digress, guys. That's it for me. You guys are awesome. I love you. Hope you're having a wonderful day today. Nothing too alarming in the charts right now specifically, but again, get subscribed. Go follow me over on X. I'm tweeting over there at midnight now because I'm up, you know what I mean? And yeah, I'll keep you updated. So if you guys do want to learn how to trade, make sure that you check out the tutorials popping up right here, right now. We obviously have, centralized. If you want coin catch, they do up to $100,000 a day, and decentralized 100% Apex, and there's $66,000 in bonuses below. Until next time, stay crypto, and of course, peace out.